So I'd like to welcome everyone to the Bridal Blueprint. This is our first in the series of our podcast, which is very exciting. So we're at Berwick House at our spring soiree.
Indeed.
We've all had a lovely evening.
We have.
Very nice.
We've all had a wine flight.
Yes. And a lot of cocktails.
And I'd like to introduce to our listeners to Melissa from MB Weddings and Events.
Hello.
And to Lauren from Bridal Social.
Hi.
I am like a kid in a sweet shop, by the way. You guys, I followed you for a long, long time. So to have you here and question you is awesome.
Yeah, I feel like that's such a compliment as well. Mm-hmm. Whenever someone says, "Oh, I follow you," or "I love your work," yeah, I love that.
But you guys are so young. It's like, how can I follow you for so long?
Thanks. I'll take that. Can we get that chopped down?
So, and we're here with Cassidy from Berwick House.
We are. Welcome in. Yes. So happy to have you here. Thank
Gorgeous
you so
venue.
much.
Thank you for having us. We've had an amazing day.
Amazing.
I'm very spoiled.
With lots of food and drink.
That's what we're hoping for.
We've got a few questions for you about your work in the industry. Mm-hmm. Shall we get started?
Shall we kickstart it? Definitely.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think one that I actually, particularly because I sort of style as well as plan, wanted to ask you was, when does a wedding become too staged rather than real?
So I actually had a wedding, I think it was last year, I won't say the month in case it gets like tracked down, but I had a bride, she was lovely, but she sent over a huge list to me, the photographer and the videographer, and she was like, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this, and it was like champagne towers, sparkler exit, she did first dance, cake cut, she wanted time for a photo, for a couple more couple shots, and I think that is amazing, and you need to make the most of your day and what you've paid and everything. But I think the most special part of a wedding day, as a past bride myself, is spending time with your guests. Mm-hmm. And I think Mal will agree, when we shoot content at a wedding, I think it's so nice to get them raw moments of you with your guests and interacting with your guests, you and your partner. I think if you spend too much time doing these planned things, even though they're amazing, it does take you away from your day and your guests.
Do you think people go a little bit Pinterest
yes,
heavy on
absolutely.
And I think that's probably mostly the problem, is that there's so much inspiration out there. There's almost too much, and I think people need to remember that, why they are getting married, and kind of keep that at the forefront of their mind. And it's great to look for inspiration. It's great to pick up on these things, but I think having too much there that you want to do and you're inspired by, it becomes then that you're creating somebody else's day actually, and it takes away. And I think people don't realise the more that they do, it becomes like a conveyor belt, and you're pushed to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing.
It's quite regimented then, isn't it? Where you're like, okay, it is 1:35. It's
so
true.
Absolutely.
It's a planner's nightmare.
Absolutely. I think you have to look for inspiration. Of course, we all do, in everything that we do. But I think it's just remembering actually, what it is that you want from your day. Remembering that it's not a long time. By the time some people go down the aisle, it's 2:00, it's 2:30. You don't have that much time.
It flies by, doesn't it?
Maybe pick out a few things and get your supplier's advice as well, because I think your photographer, your wedding planner, your coordinator, they'll all be able to say to you, actually enjoy your drinks reception. You've spent a lot of money on this. You've spent a lot of time planning it. Pick out the main bits that you think are really important to you, and don't worry so much about comparing yourself to others.
Fair. Or maybe choose things that incorporate your guests, so you're not spending time away from them.
Definitely. And I think more activities in your drinks reception is best. I think that gets you involved with your guests. I mean, I've seen mini golf at a drinks reception. I love mini golf at a drinks reception.
Rain or shine.
And I think, or if you're doing a champagne tower, get your guests gathered round and get everyone to grab a glass and just incorporate your guests rather than doing it separate and making it a regimented thing.
Relax and enjoy it.
Yes, definitely. Have a laugh.
You spent a lot of money to not see it. It's quite sad, really.
Definitely.
So actually, so looking back on a wedding day as a couple, as content creators, I'm going to assume this because as sort of listeners, are kind of are hearing this. Content creators versus videographer. is it a case of you've got reels, sort of, snapshots, as opposed to the traditional wedding video that, let's face it, not many
Start
people
to
really
finish.
watch?
Yeah.
Is that the difference?
Yeah, I mean, I will kind of touch on what you said there actually, because a lot of people will say, with my videography, I don't watch it all the time. I think personally that's the beauty of videography, is that it is this special cinematic film that you don't come across often. Personally for me, I've probably watched mine like once a year since I got married, but every time I watch it, it feels new. I think the difference between videography and content mainly for me is how much you can access it and how much you watch it. I think content is great for a certain amount of time, straight after the wedding, when you're in your bubble, you can use it to send to people, you can use it on your social media. There's so many things that you can do with it. And I think it's more of a like kind of raw look and more authentic look to the day, whereas videography, it's so polished, it's so beautiful. They work so hard on these films.
Really.
There's
film.
absolutely.
Yeah.
It's completely a cinematic, masterpiece. So the reason that it takes so long to put together is because of the amount of work that goes into them.
Yeah.
I think with content, it's an added extra. It's beautiful, but it's also a different perspective. And I think there is a little bit of confusion, really, that we're trying to take over videography. It will never happen either. Like they're two very different services.
We
aren't
can't produce a film like that on our iPhones. Like Mel said, they're completely different things, but I had all three at my wedding, and as a content creator, I would, if anyone has the budget for all three, I would always recommend that. Because I think we all have different perspectives of the day as well. I think the beauty of content creation, our USP is it's instant. Like the day after, you are looking back at that wedding, you've got it on your phone, you're flicking through, you're seeing a highlight reel, and I think that's the beauty of content creation. We are instant, but I do think it's great to have videography and have your wedding film in a few months time, and you can watch that back and relive your day as well.
So am I right in kind of gathering that content creation on your wedding day is more like designed to be shared?
Yes.
And videography is more like the thing you watch with your children in the future.
It's time. It's more timeless, I would say, as well.
Yes.
And I think there's very much different perspectives. And I always say I think you get the most out of your content creator personally if you have a photographer and a videographer, because your photographer and videographer have all of your kind of main events from the day, all the formalities. They've got that covered. So the beauty that we have is we can look at those missed bits. How people are reacting in the ceremony as opposed to what the couple are doing, what people are doing during the drinks reception while they're having their group photos. So you almost get like a fly on the wall perspective of your day as well. And that's how it, I would say, like, when you've got a really great team of, the three sort of different people in the media team, when they really have a respectful relationship in the day, that's how it works so beautifully, is that we're all doing our own thing. And we're not here to like duplicate, it's pointless for us, because if we were there to duplicate, actually videography is always going to trump an iPhone. So it's about us actually being able to look at what else is going on and having the beauty of people being able to relive their day from, seeing things that they wouldn't have seen otherwise.
Absolutely.
It is behind the scenes. It's BTS at the end of the day, and it's very raw and candid, and like the first looks that you do as well, like we capture them and we capture them moments, and it's so raw and so beautiful, and you do see all of your guests and through that perspective of a phone. We're kind of like an extra guest or a bridesmaid. And I hate saying that, but we are shooting what everyone else is seeing on our iPhone.
You've got to be part of every single
guest. And I think it's beautiful as well that people can have unplugged ceremonies because we're there to capture that. I hate it when a bride walks down the aisle and everyone's got their phone out. It just ruins the moment. People aren't taking it in, whereas if you've got us there with an iPhone, all of that's captured, and like Mel said, you can pop it into a Dropbox the next day. We do that for you anyway, and you can share that Dropbox with your guests. So if they do want to post them moments that they weren't allowed to have their phone out for, they've got them anyway. And how Mel touched on the team on the day as well, I think it is super important that if people are thinking of having a content creator, that they have a photographer and videographer who accept a content creator. I think it's so important that your team get on on the day and work well as a team.
And that gets captured.
Yes, because that does get, and I think as a bride you would notice if your suppliers don't get on the day. There has been like some circumstances that we've heard about, not gone through ourselves, where people have been rude to content creators, whether it be, do you know what I mean? Whether it's another supplier. I think you have to find a content creator who works well with a photographer and videographer as well, because there's a lot of people who don't know how to work again with a photographer and videographer.
It's like a new thing.
It is. Maybe like getting you can't get in the way at the end of the day.
It's people who have been doing it for like 20 years.
Exactly. And I think you can't just go in there with an iPhone and just step in front of someone.
I understand, you know, that there's always going to be like misunderstanding. It's still a new service, so it's understandable that people might have, you know, reservations towards it. And I think podcasts like this are great because like we get to speak from like an educational perspective as well, and like I'm really always open to kind of discussing this and, you know, what the differences are, because a lot of people, you know, they hear behind the scenes, they think that means we have to film behind the photographer all day and what the photographer's doing and have the camera in every shot. Well, actually that's not necessarily what behind the scenes means. It's kind of what I was talking about capturing those imperfect moments as well, because I always say like so much of your day happens in the in-betweens, and actually like all of those imperfect moments, whether that be, you know, the audio or the
audio is so nice.
Like your singer or your magician, and all of those things like create the character from your day. And I think that's where there is a misunderstanding, and from our perspective as well, because like you said, there are content creators going out there with no wedding experience. They're not speaking to people beforehand, they're not experiencing the day, and there is a clash. But I think just with time, all we can do is continue to
and over time,
educate.
have you worked with people that you would recommend as that team?
Yes,
majority.
1,000% majority. We've worked with some amazing photographers and videographers. Like I get on with some videographers so well, and we've had a blast on the wedding day.
We worked with one, didn't we, on New Year's Eve? He was absolutely awesome. They talk about like the candid moments, like you put microphones on everybody. And
I love
I forgot I got one on me, and he was like,
caught
that.
I love that.
Let's give him a shout out. Who is it?
I'm not sure if I can.
Well, I love that documentary.
He did the New Year
style.
wedding.
Because I've found that people now are interviewing videographers or interviewing like guests or the bride and groom. I love stuff like that, and I think that's amazing. But we've worked with some amazing. I love working with both a videographer and photographer. It's like a little nice team on the day.
And then you know as well that I think content creators get more freedom then as well, which
and
is
less
really
pressure,
nice.
less pressure, because I think some couples do hire us thinking, oh, it's fine, I don't need a videographer, thinking that we will film every single, like for example the speeches or the ceremony, we'll film little parts of this, not the whole thing, not like a long 6 minute film. Ours are like little raw moments of that. So,
and that's actually a really good point to touch on, because I always get asked, like, are content creators replacing videographers? Yes, we are actually. Don't trim that down. No, we're definitely not. And I always say we are not a replacement for a videographer, but we can be an alternative. And I don't want people to think that, oh, you know, content creators are now saying that I have to have all three. That's not the case. Like for some people, videography just isn't right for them. Like a cake might not be right for them, or you know, a white dress might not be right for them. And I think actually that's also fine too. So I don't want to say to people that actually, like, you know, you have to have a videographer, or you know, you can't have a content creator. For some couples, it works really well because it is quite informal. You know, it's not as up close, and you know, not necessarily saying videographers are invasive, but to get that specific kind of look and film, sometimes they do have to do a little bit more with the couple. So I think content creation can work as a great alternative, but in my opinion, I think you get the most out of it when you have all three.
And we're not a replacement. It's
you're like
more,
your capture team.
Yes. We're an added bonus.
Wonderful. So are there any key moments you like to capture that aren't standard?
We have kind of touched on that a little bit, haven't we? With the
for me, I know.
Any specific that you kind of I know obviously you can't really go, but have you got any examples of any that were
I've
unexpected?
definitely got one. I delivered a gallery to a couple the other week, and they had grandparents that were 98 and 99, and they were managed to be at the wedding. It was amazing. And there was just one moment where, again, because they had a photographer and a videographer and they were capturing the ceremony in full, I was able to kind of capture their reactions, their grandparents' reactions. And at one point, I think it was the grandma handed him like a tissue and he like wiped his eye, and then like she was just grabbing and stroking his hand. And I thought, actually, like the couple never saw that in the moment. The guests never saw that in the moment. But that was such a perfect memory for them to be like, I would never have seen that otherwise. So I think it's moments like that for me that actually would have been missed, that just feel really special.
The impact on individual guests.
Yeah,
at your wedding.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, like a missed moment.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Definitely.
Yeah. Oh, wonderful. So there you have it. So it's a capture team. That's what we're now marketing.
Yes.
But very
We
much
work together,
including
not
your
against
content
each
creators.
other.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much, guys. It's
Thank
been
you
wonderful
so
talking
much.
to you.
Thank you.
I know.
Yeah, thanks for dropping in.
Yeah,
Glad to
thank
get
you.
back to
Thanks for
Back to
having
the
us.
party.
Yeah.
Thank you.